Right, good evening everyone and welcome to this first meeting of the Finance and Audit Committee. Today is Wednesday the 15th of May 2024. My name is Lynn Brailsford and I'm chairing this meeting at the present time because I was chair of the Finance Committee during our previous administration, and our previous chair has elected not to stand on the Finance and Audit Committee. So the first item on the agenda is for members of the public, and there aren't any members of the public here. So we go on to item number 1, to elect a chair for this committee, and I would actually, quite embarrassingly, like to put my name forward to be chair of this committee. So can I have a seconder for this nomination, please? Councillor Ruston. And can I have a show of hands, please? Right, okay, I've elected myself, so I congratulate myself for now being the chair of the new Finance and Audit Committee. And item number 2 is to elect a vice chair. Yeah. So I might propose Councillor L. Councillor L, do you accept that? Yes, okay. And I'd like to second that. So can we have a show of hands for Councillor L as deputy chair for this committee? Right, that's another unanimous vote. Thank you. I'd like to add that Councillor Paul Wilson's here as ex officio in his position as Mayor and Chair of Bexhill Council. So item number 3 on this agenda is to appoint myself, Councillor Brailsford, Councillor Hussain and Councillor Ruston to the HR subcommittee. So I think we all accept that appointment. So nomination, can I have a show of hands to make sure that that's okay? Yeah, okay. Right, all congratulations, so we're all there. No public participation because there aren't any members of the public here. Item 5, to receive apologies for absence. Have we any apologies for absence, please?
Yep, Councillor Jason is on holiday, so is Councillor Timpe, and Councillor Winter has other commitments. Right,
thank you very much. Item 6, to receive declarations of pecuniary and non-pecuniary interests. Has anyone got any declarations to make? No? Okay, so we continue on to item 7, Chair's announcements. I haven't got any announcements to make other than to thank you so much for voting me in, and let's hope we have a good and productive year for our residents. So item number 8, to approve the minutes of the meeting of 24th of April 2024, Appendix A. So can I have a seconder for these minutes, please? Thank you, Councillor Hussain. And a show of hands just to give me authority to sign these minutes. Okay, fine, that's good. So I'll go ahead and get these minutes signed. Right, so they're all signed, thank you. And then we go on to item number 9, governance and accountability. 9A, to receive and approve bank reconciliation as of the 30th of April 2024. This is known as Appendix B, and it is shown as 2 items. The first one on the agenda shows that this is the amount that's on the balance for our current account, and the second print-off shows the current amount for our instant access account. So has anyone got any questions on that? If not, we'll go on to the next item, which is Appendix C, to consider the budget position as of 30th of April 2024. So we've all seen that. Has anyone got any comments? No? Okay, so on to the item C, to note reserves position as of 30th of April 2024 and that is shown as Appendix D. So, has anyone got any comments to make? No? Thank you.
Chair, can I just make a comment? It probably should have been under 9A, but back in September there was a motion made to invest £85,000 in a longer term. I know the clerk had some issues over setting it up with, had to go into the bank, and then there was a problem that bank wouldn't be able to take a town council, but we've had an RFO in place for a month. Could it be noted as a reminder that that motion needs to be progressed?
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Wilson. I've already got this on this agenda as item 16.
Oh, okay.
And I would like that to be brought up at the next meeting. I've already made a note of it here.
Okay, thank you.
So when clerk's back in here, then we will be able to review that. Thank you. So the next item on the agenda is to approve the BACS payment. So we've all been through that, or myself and Councillor Hussain have been through this and checked it off with the invoices, and we've both cleared that as okay. So I think, have I got anything to sign here for these BACS payments?
It's just that.
All right, okay. I just need to sign a couple of documents here. Right, okay, thank you very much. Thank you. So, I want to approve staff costs, that's all been done. So, item 10, grants and donations, 10A, to receive any reports from previous grant recipients. Have we received any responses?
So the last report that you got was the one from Sidley Friendship Group, but that was presented to full council, so
Okay.
we haven't had any since then.
Okay, right. So then going on, 10B.
Sorry, Chair, under 10A, talking about the Sidley Friendship, I met the chair the Friday before last,
Right,
and they're just about to start doing the work that we gave them a grant for,
good.
and I've asked them to take a before and after photograph,
Oh,
and I've said to if she could kindly send that on to our clerk, that would be most helpful.
that's brilliant. Is that the one for the kitchen?
Yes.
Yes, I'm looking forward to seeing that.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, right, okay, thank
Chair,
you.
sorry. I just wanted to know, with regards to the reports from grant recipients, I think it's something that we've not pursued in the past, and I'd just like to know again, ready for this year when we make future grants,
Yeah,
that we try and get on top of that a little bit more.
Yes,
because
I'd like
we've
to-
given out a lot of money, but I couldn't tell you if half of that stuff has actually come to light.
yeah,
So-
okay. Well, maybe we could do a recap on last year and then make it part of the procedures to make a note of any grants that we give, and to make a note to review them and to make sure that they're all been progressing nicely. So on that subject, we have received a request from Heart of Sidley for support for a major festival that they have planned for the 15th of June next month, and they would like us to give them some money to help them with this. Before proceeding with this request, I'd like to quote item 4.1 from our financial regulations, which states that a duly delegated committee of the council can authorise expenditure amounts of up to and over £10,000. So I would like, therefore, to request this amount is drawn from our general reserves in order to subsidise this event. So rather than taking it from our normal grant programme, I would make a request that this amount be to be withdrawn from our general reserves. Could I have a seconder for that, just to back up this, to make sure that you're happy with this money to be taken from our general reserves? Councillor Ruston, and can I have a show of hands to make sure everyone's happy with this? Right, I certainly am. So bearing in mind that this is a major community event and is scheduled for next month, as I said, I'd like us to debate this request on its own merit and therefore outside of our grants policy. The Sidley Festival is scheduled to take place on 15th of June and is being organised by Heart of Sidley, who are a long-established community group who have worked absolute wonders to boost local businesses and to inspire pride in the Sidley community. It offers so many people a unique opportunity to try out new skills and interests firsthand in a happy and relaxed atmosphere, which will make lasting memories for all who attend. It is open to all, including families with young children, isolated people, teenagers, ethnic minorities and people on low incomes. Have you all had a chance to have a look at this application? And has anyone got any comments or any debate, anything they'd like to say about it?
It's not so much on the actual, on that. It's just about the grants, the way we give grants out, basically.
Yes.
Obviously, our applications are open. We gave, I think, the last meeting. We also gave £5,000 to it.
Yeah, that was to white labels.
Yeah.
That's well, they're very well established.
Do we maybe need to look at how we're giving them money out? So it's coming from reserves, and I understand that's fine. I'm not against this at all. I'm for it. It's just that there may be a time where we don't have reserves, and we're using all the reserves, or not all the reserves, but we're using reserves for these events when we do have events.
Yeah, well, we have got a considerable amount of money in our reserves, and I've gone into those figures myself before making this
I understand
proposition.
We've got the reserves, it's just obviously...
And I felt very confident in white labels because they are well-established event organisers, and I feel the same about Heart of Sidley because they're the initiators of the BMX track.
Yeah.
They did a wonderful event last year, the Sidley Magic event, and they're not going to repeat that, but this one is on a much larger scale, and it's much more diverse and appeals to so many people.
So I was just maybe looking into how we give the grants out, because obviously it's not.
Well, I think both of them are both obviously outside of this normal remit, but I consider that our role is to enhance the lives of Bexhill residents. We're using Bexhill residents' money. We're not throwing it around like it's confetti. This is a very carefully considered decision, and as such, I'm happy to say that. Councillor Ruston.
I think I'll second what Councillor Hussain has said, is that the event hasn't just started to be organised for 4 weeks' time without knowing that it's going to happen and the money that they need. And we do open our grants up at various times of the year. So I think I agree that we need to take a bit more of a stand so that everyone has a fair stab at it. Because I know organisations that want to apply for grants but will only do it within the timescale that's advertised.
Yeah, I take your point, but our next grant programme doesn't start until July.
But there was one in January, and I'm sure that there would have been an idea that this event would have
not against
taken
it, but
place.
we did it last month. We did the same.
It's,
and we're not. So maybe we need to relook at how we give the grants. So that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying against it.
Yeah.
But we said the same last month. With it's a great event, we can give out the money, but then we've got another event now, and then we have another event, and then yes, we've got reserves at the moment, but we really need to look at it. I think because there may come a time when we don't have reserves, and we really can't go into reserves for it.
Yeah,
we need to sort of look at what the grant money is.
I definitely take your point, but I think for the last, we've been in authority now for 3 years, and we've been very carefully and very diligently saving our money, and this is money that I feel is contributed by the community, and I think it should be given back to the community in a positive way. Councillor L.
I think the point that the two councillors are trying to make, and I think we made this last meeting as well, is we're making exceptions for these grants to be given out. I don't think the point is actually giving the grant out. We've got no issues with that. We've said for quite a few meetings in a row now, there's very little that we can actually do. But one thing that we can do is help people like this through festivals or through ways of grants and we're here for that and we want to do that. I think what the two councils are trying to say is the exceptions that we grant during the time frame that they've actually put in for these grants. Other than that, though, I'm fully behind Heart of Sidley. I think they're a fantastic group. They've done so much for Sidley and for Bexhill, and I fully support the festival, and I fully support the fact that we should accept their request and grant them the money.
Okay.
I've got no issues with it coming from reserves. Like you say, we have a considerable amount there. However, if we're going to accept these kinds of grants at this time of the year, then we do have to look into our grants policy and be more flexible in that policy.
Yeah.
If we are going to keep it rigid and we are going to make sure that we're not going to give it outside of those times, then we have to stick with it. But if we feel that we can help people closer to their events, then we should make sure that we can do that and maybe change that policy.
Yeah, I mean, I would be more hesitant if this was a group that we hadn't heard
Absolutely.
of and we weren't acquainted with, and they were a new group, then I'd be obviously a lot more cautious. Councillor?
Sorry, just one more thing as well.
Yes.
Just to clarify, obviously, this event is in 4 weeks' time. It just seems like there may be some information given to the events that there's some easy money there. But it's there to be taken because this event has obviously not just been thought of now. And then obviously something said that, look, you can get a grant from the town council. And that seems to be what's happening. As I said, I'm not against the event, but we just need to be careful with that.
But looking at the different aspects and the different attractions that they've got, that's not something that happened overnight. That's taken a lot of planning.
Exactly, and I think that's the thing, is that they knew that there's been a long lead-in time for it. So would they have known in January about it? And if so, why didn't they apply in January when out up to 5,000 is? And I think it's setting the precedent again. If we've got a new financial year, let's run with it so that everyone's got a fair...
I'd like to think, in fairness, there's exceptions that prove the rules, and I personally would like to see this event being a success.
Yeah, not against
Maybe
the event,
when we pay the money over, we should put a precautionary note there to say in future we need a lot more notice for this sort of thing.
If I just add 2 points, Chair. One is when the town council was first set up, the grant value of 30,000 for a year was based upon a percentage that was
Of the
agreed
population, yes.
by the population. The population's grown, our precept has grown, but your grant value has stayed at the same. So if you're going to review the grants policy, perhaps it's also right to review how much in next year's precept the grants allocation is, because proportionately we're, if you like, giving away less of our annual precept than what we were previously, half as much. So I think there's probably some leeway there. The other thing to add is, the one thing that might have changed is, of course, the carnival now isn't starting in Sidley, and I think that might have had an impact. I know they're on separate days, but some of the businesses may not now be able to subsidise it as much as what they were before, because they've lost a considerable amount of income because the carnival's in town rather than out of town. So I suspect that might be the reason why suddenly they're looking for other ways of creating income.
Yes, okay, take your point. Councillor L.
If our issue are these exceptions of when people can ask for a grant, would it be a good idea to look into that tonight maybe, to see what we can do with our policy? Either make it more lenient or put down a rule to say, you know, we may be able to give out grants 2 months before a festival maximum, or can we make it more lenient so we can do it throughout the year?
Yeah.
Is it worth looking into that at all?
Well,
Again, it's nothing to do with this particular festival. I'm completely for it. I'm behind it. I would like to grant their request, but for leniency of how we hand out grants, would it be a good idea to look into that process today?
it is a good idea, but we've recently revised our grants policy before this happened. Obviously, having these other applications of quite large amounts of money.
Because it's two months in a row.
But this grants policy has only recently been agreed, so maybe in 6 months' time we could see what's going on and see if there's a way to review it then. So maybe we could make a note that we'd like to review the grants policy in 6 months' time to see how it's all been delegated.
to at least be able to have a policy that we can stick behind and not have to make exceptions for every month. It would look a little bit more.
Yeah, well, this, as I said, when this was agreed, I think it's about October last year, and we had
We are
no.
6 months after.
Yeah, so on the website it's April 2023 is the grants policy.
Yeah, well, it was formalised then. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's 13 months ago. And also looking at it, something that I maybe didn't pick up on then is that there's a big gap between January and July from when it opens. So you've got a huge part of the year which closes. And I don't know any other council that, you know, if I apply to Rother for a grant, I'll be told, no, this is when our grants are open and that's it. So, yeah, I think it's maybe highlighted a couple of others having a few back-to-back.
Well, perhaps we could defer that until the next meeting, and hopefully there'll be more of us, and
Yeah.
we can make a firm decision then, and see what needs to be done with this grants policy. So in the meantime, I'd like to propose that we contribute the sum of £5,000 from our reserves in order to facilitate the Heart of Sidley request for their event, which is taking place on the 15th of June. So can I have a seconder for that, please? And a show of hands. Right, that's unanimous. So we will do that. But this can't emphasise enough. This is something I consider to be quite exceptional, as was last month, and it's not going to be a rule of thumb now. We'll tighten up on it. Okay, thank you very much. So moving on, the next item on the agenda is item 11B, no it isn't, no 11A, to approve roof repairs for the value of, the net value is 5,300 plus VAT, making a total of £6,420. I understand that we did have a very serious leak earlier on this year, caused by the excessive rain, and we had to call an extraordinary meeting to authorise those repairs to be done to the flat roof, but there's been increased damage to the other side of the property which necessitated these repairs, and it leaked through to the internal parts of the building, so hence this is more money, and this quote covers the repairs to the roof and some internal reparation as well. So have you all had a look at the quotes, and how do you want to proceed with this?
I think if they've got the quote and Julie's happy with it and sent us the
Yes.
best quote, I think we need to accept it.
Yeah, well, this company looked very conscientious, and they've certainly sent photographs of the work that was required to back up their estimate, and I think it looks very good. So can I have a seconder to authorise this to go through, and then we'll
Can I
have a
just
vote.
add, I am a little concerned that that's nearly £15,000 the town council have paid out for a front door and two parts of the roof. Is it worth considering what else is wrong with the building and getting somebody to visit it so we can plan ahead? Because if we are going to stay there, then shouldn't we be allocating some money each month somewhere? Because otherwise we don't really want another £5,000–6,000 bill in 6 months' time when it's got too hot and the bitumen's melted and created cracks.
Well, I mean,
Just worried
I know we definitely had a schedule of dilapidations made on the whole property when we first took the lease on, as it was a full repairing lease, and we had experts to have a look over, and I can't remember, but I don't think that revealed any major problems with the building.
But we've got to spend £10,000 on the roof.
Well, I don't know, for a schedule of dilapidations, I don't know, they'd have had to go up there and maybe, I don't know. I mean, I've had a property locally that's had a lot of damage to the roof caused by the exceptional wind and rain.
Yeah, it's the rain. We have had exceptional rain.
Yes.
It could be.
So, and I think we've got a break clause coming up in a couple of years' time.
Yeah.
So maybe we could review it then. I don't know that there's anything more that we can do. So I don't think we've got a lot of
It
choice.
is what
other
it is.
than-
It's just a lot of money we've spent out in 1 year on dilapidations, which
Should have been picked up on, really.
and conversations should have been had with the landlord to say, can we share these costs, or
Well, we couldn't because the lease was a full
but
repair
before the
lease.
lease was taken out, if the dilapidation report highlighted the front door and the roof. But we are where we are with it. We
Well,
don't
I'd
have a choice.
have to refer back to that.
We don't have a choice. It's
No.
something that needs to be
Well,
done. Otherwise,
this is the situation we're in,
Yeah.
and I think on that basis, Councillor.
Could we maybe check that report again, just to see, just in case anything did pop up? Obviously, like Councillor Wilson has said, that we are where we are with this, and it has to be done. No two ways about it, but maybe just
You could sometimes, I'm not sure
Relook
how
at
it
that.
works, but I know you can go back to them and say that you didn't pick up on this, and we've been in it for just over a year,
No, more than that.
Yeah. 2 years, but 2 years, and we've had to spend £10,000 on the roof.
Well, maybe at the next meeting we can have a review of that.
Yeah.
I've made a note here to recheck the schedule of dilapidations, and maybe we'll bring a report back and see if there's anything we can do. But I think it's just exceptional circumstances. We were very, very, I think, meticulous when we chose the property, and we turned down quite a few on bad surveys and that sort of thing. So this was the best opportunity we had. So it's something we couldn't foresee, and I should imagine there's probably quite a few people in the same situation as ourselves. But
there are very few properties in town, especially along those roads, whether it's Devonshire or Western Road, and especially with the age of the buildings, there's very few properties that don't have problems with water and don't have problems with their roofs. And water is such a thing that it does find its way in, so it's understandable that
yeah, and it can cause a lot of damage.
Absolutely, once it's in.
Which is why we've got to get this repair done and make good and move on from it. At least we're keeping our end of the tenancy agreement in force diligently, and we'll have to hope that the weather's going to improve. Don't know what else.
I'd like to propose the approval of those roof repairs if possible.
Okay, so can I have a show of hands? Right. Yeah, we'll approve that. Okay, thank you. So the next one on our list here, 11B, is to consider the quote for security enhancements to the hub. We haven't got all the full information that we need to discuss this, so I'd like to vote that we defer this until our next meeting when we'll have more information to hand. Item 11C, moving on to note recruitment underway to enable Monday to Friday opening. So we're trying to facilitate that for our residents. And we'll report on that as the situation goes on. So moving on to item 12, health and safety, to note advice from WorkNest on documenting near misses. I understand that Ralph didn't have any information on that, so WorkNest is our next port of call. Is that right?
Yes, they did come back with some advice, but it was essentially, if you want to document near misses like their accidents, you've just got to get a book and then review it. So it's up to you what you want to do with that.
Right, okay. Well, I think it's worth taking a record of it to make sure that everything's safe and as safe as it can be.
So it is, sorry, could I go through? Yeah, just so it is quite an easy thing to do. It's not going to be lots of...
Yeah, there isn't really a process for it,
Just a
so
book that-
yeah.
Okay.
Well, it would help us keep a diligent eye on anything that hasn't been covered.
Yeah.
And if there is a near miss, then we can refer back to our health and safety schedule and to make sure that, you know, that ultimate unfortunate incident has been covered and in our procedures, and if not, add it to it. So I think we will take the advice from WorkNest and start a record book for our staff to make sure that they're well looked after. Can I have a show of hands to agree for that? Yeah, okay, that's unanimous. Thank you. Item number 13, recommendations from committees. There are none. Item number 14, motions from councillors. There are none. Item number 15, correspondence and matters for information. There were none. Item number 16, questions from councillors and future agenda items. As I said before, I've made a note here. Can we discuss progress regarding investment, the sum of money to obtain interest to make the money that we've got work on our behalf. So I'm hoping that that can be carried forward and acted on during our next meeting. Has anyone got any other?
Yeah, can we put something about the grants?
Oh yes, to review. Yep. At the nearest possible opportunity.
And the value of the grant budgets as well.
Yeah.
Right, thank you. So that's 2 items there. Anyone else got anything? No. 17, overview of annual internal control tasks of the council. So I think this is this bit here. What we're supposed to be doing in May. We've had our AGM and adoption of policies, internal audit and review of asset register. So I think we're up to date with everything we should be doing. Next month we'll be approving the AGAR, review of internal controls and complete internal audit. So we seem to be on schedule with everything we should be doing. Item number 18 is the date of our next meeting, which is scheduled for Wednesday the 12th of June 2024. And with your permission, I would like to just declare that this meeting is now closed. Thank you very much.